Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Long Island Sounds, the podcast. I am your host, Rob Armstrong, and thanks for tuning in. Before I get started, I wanted to address this past weekend. I was fortunate enough to cover Joe Bonamassa's performance at the Flagstar at Westbury Music Fair. They just changed their name not too long ago. I'm still getting used to calling it the Flagstar at the Westbury Music Fair. But he put on an amazing show, and as he always does, I've seen him numerous times at the Beacon Theater, a couple of times at Jones Beach Amphitheater in Wantock here on Long Island. And I saw him again a couple years ago at the Great South Bay Music Fest. That one was actually in the pit. And it's strange how one of the things I wanted to discuss was the restrictions for covering different artists, and not only do the artists require or suggest how they don't want people in a pit, or how they want their whatever their opinions on how they're going to be covered. I saw him at the Beacon. It was basically unofficial. I actually shot him with a pocket camera, and I shot from my seat. The images weren't all that great. They would, like I said, it was just a point and shoot pocket camera. The times that I shot him at Jones Beach, the first one was from the front of the house, where the soundboard is located, and there was a lot of cropping, and I didn't get, I prefer shooting from the pit. You get the angles, up here that way, that's how I prefer shooting a show. Unfortunately, that the first time I saw Joe, I didn't get that luxury. The second time was even worse. There was Don Felder. We had to shoot him from the soundboard straight on to the stage. Joe Bonamassa came on after, and we had to shoot from the side stage. Basically it would have been a stage right. So you're kind of looking at him this way, and me and 4 or 5 other photographers are standing up against the gate side rail, and none of us are happy about that. But we were a little bit closer to the stage at that time, but it still, you're not getting the money shots shooting from the side of the stage. When I was able to shoot him at the Great South Bay Music Fest, we were granted to shoot him in the pit, which is the downstage, the edge of the downstage area. I think a lot of you people are familiar with where the pit is located, and I got a lot of great angles, a lot of great shots. The lighting was great, and I had a great time. We were only able to shoot 3 songs, no flash. That's basically the rule, and it's probably going to be a subject of discussion, once I get the podcast off the ground, and more followers, more subscribers, and we can call in other photographers and we can discuss. That'll be another topic. Like I said, a topic of discussion. This previous one, when I saw him at Flagstar at Westbury Fair, the restrictions were the outside of the arena. The stage is in the round. For those who don't know, the space at the Westbury is a spinning stage. So it goes this way, 360, and then it goes around. But you're up on top. We're behind the rows that surround the stage. You got to walk wherever you wanted to, but still, you're not really getting the up close and personal shots that people actually love to see. But I did put an article together, and you can see that at my website at www.longislandsounds.org. Don't forget the S. And I put together a pretty good, what I consider a pretty good article. But anyway, my next gig I am submitting for Guar. They're going to be performing at the Paramount in Huntington here on Long Island. And there are a couple other shows that are coming up after that. Um, Even though I submitted for Guar, it's going to be for one of my other photographers that is she wants to cover the show. I've covered them before, and it's a little messy. If you're familiar with Guar, they can be quite busy, or messy. So I'm not gonna. I've seen them. I'm not interested in covering that mess again, but we shall see. Hopefully, she gets or hopefully Long Island Sounds gets the approval to shoot that show. Then she can have all that slime thrown at her. So, but anyway, let's talk about today's discussion. As I'm beginning to put this podcast together, a lot of people have sparked interest. They're wishing me good luck, and I've got an international Native American fashion designer. She's excited to come on, which is going to probably be in a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. There's a dear friend of mine that he's going through cancer, and we're gonna, discuss that as well. And he's also a musician, so it kind of like ties in with the Long Island Sound, and he had a lot of people come to his support a couple of weeks ago. The question remains: what makes a good, if not great, podcast? What makes people come back for more? People obviously need to be entertained and possibly give them something to think about. But what makes up the basics of a successful podcast? And more important, I guess, they go hand in hand, but how do we get those subscribers to not so much get monetized? I'm sure everybody wants to get monetized, but I can't emphasize enough. I don't like going to empty theaters. There's so many great venues here on Long Island, and I go see these amazing bands, and you got 50 people there. I think, for a venue that holds 150, 200, theaters that hold close to 300 or even 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, it's very disappointing to see a band whom I think is great, and they've only got 10% of the venue filled. So it's very, very disheartening. But in relation to making a good podcast, do people have an intro? I haven't been able to see a lot of podcasts. My buddy from Chicago, he has maybe a 30-second, 15-second montage, not even a montage. It's in your face music and welcome to the podcast. He's got some graphics up, and then he'll go in and say today's subject is or topic is, and it's in your face music right as soon as you hit play. It's a standard billboard that he uses. I'm not familiar with, again, a lot of podcasts. I do like listening to Alex Skolnick's podcast, and it just goes into a whole. He's got a dialogue that like a 30-second. I'm a professional photographer, musician, and somebody who says, somebody who gets, who's constantly told, shut up and play guitar. I'm sure a lot of musicians do, even on Facebook, Instagram. I don't know about Instagram or Threads, but I'm sure it's no different than Facebook. But it's, how do you go from right now until I get this off the ground? I've been recording on my iPhone and downloading onto my computer and editing as I see fit. But at some point, I think it would be ideal to go, from, and I have the equipment. I have a 3-camera system, 3-camera setup. I have a 2 microphone right now, using a Scarlett box, for to plug in your microphones, and wireless. They're wireless, so I do have a receiver for that, and obviously I have the editing software that I can use. But at what point should I get to in order to start utilizing the equipment? I've got a lighting kit. I don't have a studio. I really don't have a place to sit down with a guest and utilize the 3-camera system. I have been offered studio space, but obviously you're going to have to rent that by the hour. But ultimately, once I do get, as I mentioned the other day, once I get to a certain level, it wouldn't be too difficult for me to go on location, whether it's somebody's studio. The musician that I was talking about with that's going through his cancer situation, he has a studio. He's got a music studio, I should clarify, not just a like a dance studio. He's got an actual musical musician recording studio. So we could actually sit out in the recording area, not so much the soundboard, and or we could sit at the soundboard for all that matter. But I do have the lights, and I do have the, well, he'd have the microphones as well. But it's baby steps. I mean, should one take baby steps, or should one just go full blown? Here's my podcast. This is me. I'm branding myself, like episode 1. And that kind of like goes to my next topic, is branding. You've got, I had a couple of ideas earlier about people branding themselves. And I had one of the podcasts that I've seen, he's got a beard. And I don't want to mention, others podcasts, but it's in relation to beard products. For example, how about I say this? Everybody knows John Petrucci. He's known for his big beard. If he had a podcast, he's got the look. He pulls his hair back. He's got the big beard. You make a silhouette of that. That's branding. And if you see that, if you're familiar with John Petrucci, and if he were to have a podcast and that was his logo, hey, that's John Petrucci. That's branding. So how does one brand themselves? Right now, I don't have a niche that would be considered, my brand. It's just, moving forward with maybe just my logo. And I will do eventually like to put up a 30-second video montage, video intro, maybe a video montage, and then voiceover. I haven't decided yet if that's how I want to proceed. What streaming devices people use. I know there's a company called Discord. There's what is it called? StreamYard. And obviously YouTube, Spotify. You can do yourself on YouTube and then convert over and onto Spotify. But I don't believe I'm at that level yet. It's only my second podcast. But again, I've mentioned before, I want to keep this within 20 minutes before y'all get too bored. But I do have some notes that I wanted to read from, and these are just ideas on how am I going to brand myself. Should an intro be the same every single time, every single podcast? Should it be discussed on how I got started, the topics of what I want to discuss? I did get my start being the entertainment manager, which I obviously climbed a ladder. I came in as a on-call roadie, basically. And my first actual show was Eddie Money. And we had a small theater called the Bears Den. It sat 450, 475. And went in, set up the stage, loaded in the truck, and they kept me on for the show. I was actually the spotlight operator. And then we toured on the stage after the show. So that's what I did. I was just an on-call roadie. Luckily, the manager at the time saw my potential, and he, kind of mentored me. And 4 years later, I was the entertainment manager. But that's kind of like leads into subjects that I'd like to talk to with oncoming guests. I want to talk to the venue management. I want to talk to venue artists. I want to talk to venue owners. And we've got so many topics that we could actually not so much break down, but we can talk about one subject one week, have a second discussion the following week or within the next few days, and just talk about, if I were to get one of the stage managers, what's a day in the life like of a stage manager? When the band comes in, usually the band arrives about 10 a.m. I have average. Unless it's just a guy and his guitar, then he might come in at 4 o'clock, sit down on the stage, do a sound check. Things that people normally don't or are unaware of on how putting on a show, everything that's entailed. People just show up, go grab their popcorn and drink, and go to their seats and wait for the music to play, get up and leave. That's all they see. But there's so much more entailed with video or concert production, which all the aspects that I wouldn't mind talking about. So, but again, I'm trying to keep this within 15 and 20 minutes until I get into more subscribers, more, I wouldn't say feedback, but just more traffic. How's that? But in the meantime, you can always follow me on Long Island Sounds on Facebook. I have a concert photography page. Or, obviously I mentioned the www.longislandsounds.org. And that's where my articles and blogs are. And like my concert coverage from Joe Bonamassa this past week. And, my other photographer will put a review and photos from Guar should we get approved. So that's it for now. I do have an Instagram, long.island.sounds on Instagram. And feel free to check me out there. But in closing, thanks for your time, and make sure you hit like and subscribe. I need all the help I can get. Thanks a lot, and I will talk to you later.